G'day, Michael Young here again, and this week back in the home office again, and sporting one of my many Hard Rock Cafe shirts. Just as an aside, given all of the extensive travel I've done over the last couple of years, travelled to about 45 different countries, working on a range of different projects, developing standards, working as Australian delegate to different international bodies, including ISO. One thing I wanted to do was to just get a bit of a souvenir of my travels, and I thought, well, hey, I like music, I like bands, and what better thing to do than go and collect a whole pile of Hard Rock Cafe shirts. Now, what's really interesting about this is that it's just one of those silly sort of habits and hobbies that someone has, but it's become really interesting. I've almost sort of developed this tribe of followers and people, and what we've found is that I often get text messages and emails and so on from friends and colleagues around the world who, on their travels, they come across a Hard Rock Cafe somewhere, and they message me and say, hey, have you been to the Hard Rock Cafe in Cancun, or have you been to the Hard Rock Cafe in Helsinki, or wherever it happens to be? And of course I'm able to say yay or nay, and next thing you know, a week or so later, either a package turns up in the mail and it's a Hard Rock Cafe shirt from my friend in those locations, or it happens to be that when I bump into them next time on some other overseas trip, they hand over a shirt or a couple of t-shirts as well. Recently, a friend of mine I bumped into in Malaysia, and he actually gave me a little bottle of garlic steak sauce or seasoning for his family. His wife and family were travelling around the world, and we met here in Canberra. I took them on a tour of the Australian War Memorial, and but the funny thing was, prior to that tour, I handed over the bottle of, or little container of steak seasoning, and my friend's wife handed over a Hard Rock Cafe t-shirt from Reykjavik in Iceland. Now, as it turned out, my friend's wife happened to be in Reykjavik about 2 months earlier. They were in Iceland, and they went to the Hard Rock Cafe and got me a t-shirt. Now, I happen to have been in Reykjavik, Iceland, about 18 months ago for a conference, and the Hard Rock Cafe was opening up 2 days after I left, and so it was one of those moments where I was there, I was outside the Hard Rock Cafe, and I couldn't actually get a t-shirt because they weren't open yet. And so we did the exchange. The funny thing was that I was excited to get the t-shirt, of course, and add it to the pile of about the 70 others that I have. And my friend's wife and his kids were absolutely ecstatic about getting this little tube of garlic steak seasoning. They've been travelling for a little while, and this was their favourite seasoning, and so, as we sort of say, it's the small things in life that make all the difference. So the thing is that this week, obviously, what I've been able to do is to develop some absolutely fantastic friendships and relationships and networks around the world. And even when I do travel, and although I do spend a bit of time away from the family and away from home, I always take the opportunity to see the sights and develop and experience new things. And it's important that we step out of our comfort zone. It's important that we do things that we haven't done before. We try food that we haven't done. We try new ways of doing things, and so on. And it's only once we start to try those things that we'll actually discover that, well, maybe this is actually a good way of doing things, or perhaps even this is a better way of doing things than the way we've always done things. And so it's really important to not be scared of the change, not hide behind some fear of change, but we need to embrace the change. We need to try new things. We need to constantly adapt and evolve. And in doing so, that helps us to grow as a person, and it also helps us to grow our business. So that's it from me this week. So if you are traveling around the world, go to a Hard Rock Cafe, get a t-shirt, start the collection, Maybe one day you'll catch up to me with the 70 odd shirts. I've got about another 75 or 80 to go, and perhaps it's one of my bucket list items to get a Hard Rock Cafe shirt from every Hard Rock Cafe in the world. Bit of an impossible task because they open and close all the time, but why not have a bit of fun? Why not collect a bit of a souvenir as you travel? And so that's all from me for this week, and we'll see you all online at the next video blog. Cheers.